Hello all and welcome to Astro Wheel of Fortune. My name is Vlada and I read tarot. And today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to do a reading where we read the messages together. I've just found myself being way more interested in helping people use their own intuition and use their own skills, their channeling skills lately. I love reading tarot, but I really enjoy it when people are able to derive messages for themselves. I really enjoy it when the reading is more like a collaboration between the reader and the viewer. And that's exactly what I wanted to do today. So what I was thinking I would do for this reading, we're going to do general messages. We're going to see what pops up. We've got 3 groups because I want to get quite in depth with each of the groups. We've got group 1, group 2, and group 3. We've got the pyrite group. We've got the clear quartz group. And we've got the black tourmaline group. So the way that I'm going to do this reading is I'm going to be using just the Rider-Waite Tarot. I also have some astrology decks there that I want to use, and a couple of oracle decks as well that I might use for this reading, but I'm going to do it quite ad hoc, so each group might be actually quite different in terms of the reading. I wanted to make this kind of very broad. But the way that I'm going to do the reading is I'm going to be pulling a few cards, and whether you read tarot professionally as a hobby, whether you don't read tarot at all, I want to encourage you to meditate over the cards with me. I'm going to lay out the cards and we're going to look at the cards together. I have some pieces of paper here and pen and marker. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm not going to be drawing like I usually do, but what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be writing down maybe like keywords or symbols or things that pop into my head as I'm looking over the cards. I want you to think of things, or not think of things, but channel phrases, words, imagery that comes to you when looking at the cards, and then I'll proceed with the reading. I will be giving out my own keywords, and it's going to be a very ad hoc reading where I give plenty of space for you to decide what the message might be for you, but I also give my input to maybe help you along if that's what you're interested in, because that's what I want to be here as a reader. That facilitates that kind of autonomy if you're not maybe very comfortable with reading tarot by yourself completely, or maybe you just want that extra element of input. I feel like it can be very fun, and I think there is value in collaborating as reader and viewer. So yeah, that's what I have. We have 3 groups, so pick whichever group you want. You might be pulled to 1, to 2, to all of them, or maybe you will be pulled to none of them. If you're pulled to none of them, that's absolutely fine. Just leave the reading. Messages may not be for you, but if you feel pulled to 1 or more, stick around. Pause the video now if you want to take a second, but I'm going to get started. So we're starting with group number 1, the pyrite group. So let's put our pyrite here, and I'm going to start with the Rider-Waite Tarot deck that I have here, and we're going to pull some cards for what do you need to hear right now? What do your guides want to say to you? What is the message? Where is it coming from? Let's just pull the cards, or maybe you have a situation in mind. Maybe you have a topic in mind that you want to ask on, but let's just pull the cards and see what are the messages that come through. I'm going to be meditating over them a little bit, and I'm going to be writing down some keywords, and I'll let you see the keywords that I'm writing down as well, so you can see my process and what I'm thinking. I'll be pulling many cards, so let's get started. I think I'm going to get started with just a couple of cards to begin with. Group 1. I also want to pull some astrology cards. I'm noticing, just as I'm doing this reading, I'm noticing a theme between these 3 cards here. There's a cluster of energy here that I'm noticing of learning and developing skills and having hobbies and interests. There's something kind of like hobbies, interests, learning, and curiosity being piled up here in this corner for me. I'm going to pull from this other astrology deck that I have as well. Okay, maybe changes in learning it from a different perspective. And then Uranus energy is very much about, it can be many things, but to me here, it's standing out as invention because again, there's a lot of learning. So I'm just giving you little buzzwords or little things that are jumping out at me. And I want you to kind of really lean into what this might mean for you. Let me think. Okay. There's something, just as I'm going along with this reading, I feel like there's something about reinventing yourself while still continuing to invent parts of yourself. So, okay, let me think about this because I feel like there's something around reinvention and invention, and how do you balance the two? That's what it feels like to me. Which parts of me is it time to, maybe you need to identify the parts of yourself that need to still be invented. Parts of me that still need to be invented. And then parts of me, I wonder if there's a journaling prompt in here somewhere for you. Parts of me that it's time to reinvent, I would say. I hope you can read this. I hope it's not too far away. Parts of me that it's time to reinvent. So, parts of me that still need to be invented and parts of me that it's time to reinvent. There's something around this. I feel like this is an important... It's an important message here. This feels like the overall maybe theme of this reading. What am I... Because there's a fear of not being successful and stops you from leading yourself into this energy. So, like, if you're asking about a relationship, it could be like, what parts of the relationship still need to be invented? And what parts of the relationship need to be reinvented? But for a lot of you, this feels like it's more about you, as in, like, no other person involved. It feels like something about your own self-development. Okay, let me think further. So what I'm getting here, so when I'm looking at the King of Wands in reverse with the Six of Wands in reverse here, there's a sense of like, am I good enough to even want this for myself? Or am I leader-like enough to push myself that kind of way? And like, you are, but you're doubting it. So doubt around own leader abilities. Doubt around own leader abilities. I almost want to write this down as bullet points. Doubt around own leader abilities. Doubt around having true autonomy. Doubt around own leader abilities, doubt around having true autonomy to invent and reinvent. Invent and reinvent, invent and reinvent. That keeps coming through. And it's like, I keep looking at these pentacles. It's like, what do I invent? What do I reinvent? And maybe you think, I either need to focus on the invention of myself or I need to focus on the reinvention of myself. But in reality, you can focus on both. You just need to learn how to flow from one to the other. Maybe there is something around the way that you were taught to develop yourself in an early childhood where you have a self-limiting belief that you can't do the two at once. That you either have to create life for yourself, you have to create certain processes for yourself, or you can change things around in what exists in your life already, but that you are not capable of doing the two at the same time, and that kind of blocks you. There's this feeling that you don't see yourself as intelligent as you actually are. Underestimating. Own intelligence. And it's not that you don't think you're smart. I think you're aware of your smarts. You're aware of your intelligence. But they're like, you know you're clever. You know you're witty. You know there is smarts about you. You don't think you're dumb in any sort of way or anything like that. But there is almost this feeling like, I'm not that smart though. I'm not so smart that I deserve this kind of thing, or that I deserve to learn about a certain topic even. Maybe there's a certain topic that you want to learn about, but you think that you are not quite that intelligent to learn about it. There could be that kind of theme running through here. It's like, yeah, sure, I'm smart. Sure, I'm intelligent. Because Page of Pentacles is a student. And then we've got the third house. I also feel like for some of you, studying part-time is coming through. You don't have to study it all at once. Studying part-time or in sections. I also like studying at your own pace. I feel like a lot of you, maybe I'll talk about this in a second. Studying at your own pace. There's something with this energy, something about this feels very like you weren't able to maybe study in tandem with the school system, like wherever you went to school with. Maybe you weren't doing that great academically in school and college, or maybe you're in school right now. And your guides are saying that is not an indication of your cleverness. That is not an indication of your smarts. You're just someone who's meant to learn in a very different way to how you've been told you're supposed to learn. There's a really big vibe around this group, around this spread, that your guides really want you to see how fucking smart you are. But it's like, you're like, I know I'm smart, but it's like, I'm not smart in that way. And your guides are like, no, you are smart in that way. It's just that you're smart in that way, but the way that you go about it is not traditional. It's not unorthodox. It's different. Because Mercury retrograde, a lot of people, excuse me, I'm just going to take a sip of water. A lot of people who have Mercury retrograde natally, maybe you do as well, tend to learn what I'm hearing in my head is arseways. Tend to learn, it's not arseways, it's not the wrong way, it's just a lot of people don't understand how Mercury retrograde natal, or people who have Mercury retrograde natally, a lot of people don't understand their thought process, because people with Mercury retrograde in their natal chart almost think backwards. So you solve, maybe if there is some sort of problem that you're trying to solve, the way to solve this problem is to work backwards. So solve the problem backwards. Maybe you keep going to the start of the problem. Because what I'm seeing here, what you're doing almost is, sorry, I'm going to draw here because I feel like I don't have enough space. Or I could draw on the other side of the page. But so beginning of problem is what I'm seeing. Oh my God. I don't know how to spell beginning. I can't remember if it's two or one ends in the middle. Okay. Beginning of the problem. Then we've got where you are right now. And it's obviously not linear. There's like stuff going on here or whatever. But we're just, for the simplicity of it, you are here. You are here. And you keep trying to go back to the start to figure out the problem. Whereas you need to kind of go like this and work backwards in short bursts. That's what it feels like. You keep trying to go this way. Let me start from, and you're like, let me start from here and go this way. But that's not how your mind works. And I'm trying to figure it out this way. Your mind works by working backwards and tracing backwards. But that doesn't make you dumb or intelligent, or your intelligence does not mean that your intelligence is not as important or not as elevated as other people's. It just works in a backwards manner. You're tracing backwards to figure things out, rather than going to the very start of the problem and going, oh, well, this is how you get to the correct answer, to the correct place. You work backwards with your problem solving skills. You work backwards with understanding something. It almost feels like if you were, let's say, a friend came to you with like, oh, can you give me advice on whatever? The way that you give advice is like, okay, so like, what did you do about this problem that you were having, an hour ago? What did you do about this problem that you're having a day ago, a week ago, a month ago? And you work backwards. Whereas like a lot of people would start with the problem like, okay, where did the problem originated? But you understand, and like we need both types of thinkers, I guess. But like, because we're talking about you, let me just explain what I'm trying to, what I'm feeling here with your group. You're the kind of person and the kind of problem solver that understands that sometimes going to the very root of the problem you can skip over very crucial details sometimes when you're going, oh, let me just get back to the start and work as from memory how things work, how things worked out from the start. You understand that sometimes to get to the root of the problem and not to miss any details, you have to carefully step backwards and pick up. I'm almost getting, like if someone got lost and they leave like crumbs for them to be found, or like when they say like if someone gets kidnapped, or like if you get kidnapped, throw out a trail of like your belongings so that people can find you, throw out items so that people can slowly pick up. And so you're understanding that you have to work backwards. I need to pick up on the little crumb trail, because if I try to go find the location, sorry, I think I'm not explaining it right. It's like, let's say there was a challenge and you and a teammate had to find your way from point A to point B. You were given the directions to point B, but the second person had to find it with your help. You understand that if you leave a trail of crumbs, they'll be able to find you easier, and you'll be able to find your way back easier in case they couldn't find you. But a lot of people would just be kind of like, well, let me just find the beginning state, like the root. But you understand, sometimes to get to the root of the problem, you have to take baby steps backwards. And obviously there's different ways of solving problems. There's not just one way, but that's your way. That's what it feels like. It's like baby steps backwards. And maybe sometimes, a lot of the time, it feels like your life is moving backwards. Like you're descending in some sort of way in your progress. Progress. Through baby steps, going backwards. Progress forwards through baby steps going backwards. That's what's coming through. I feel like this is important. You progress forwards by taking baby steps going backwards. You could be literally the definition of one step forward, two steps back, but they're tiny 2 steps back. Big step forward, small, tiny steps back. You work very well in that kind of cycle. And then you go again and you go forward. And then another 2 little steps back. But you are always moving forward. It's just the illusion of moving backwards. And so that's why maybe you don't have as much of a confidence. Maybe that's why you don't have as much of a confidence with your progress, because you're thinking that you're not progressing, but you're just, it's an intricate way that you move. Your mind moves in a very intricate way. It's like, to go forward, okay, you are here. Let me do this again. You are here. Okay? You are here. Oh, sorry, that's too confusing. I feel like I need to write it here so that it's a little bit... Okay. You are here. This is you, right? And you're like, okay, I want to go this way. I want to go this way. I want to go move forwards. I want to progress my life. And you're like really trying to go forward, but you're in a stupor that way. You're like, why can't I move? There's a lot of concentrated energy. This feels like very concentrated energy, like it's buzzing. And the only way I feel like I can go back is go back. I feel like I constantly feel like I want to go backwards. But it's not that you want to go backwards in huge leaps. You want to trace where the problem came from, but very slowly. You're going to take 2 steps back, maybe 3, maybe 4. Who knows how many you need to take in order to figure it out. But let's say you're only taking 2 little steps, baby steps backwards. You take them backwards and, gold mine, the gold. I struck gold. I figured out the problem. Wow, this is my, beacon of shining hope. now that I figured out this problem, I can take a huge leap forward. And I'm here now. Here I am now again. And then, you know, you live your life and you get to pause. And then you're kind of like, oh, I'm buzzing with energy again. I feel like I'm ready to move forward. But in order for me to move forward, I have learned that if I take a couple of little steps backwards, I actually do a better job at leaping. Because otherwise I'm like stuck and it's very hard. It feels like there's a wall if I don't go backwards. So again, you take a couple of little steps back. We've got a couple of little steps back. Maybe this time you have to go 2 or 3, whatever. Again, you've struck gold. You're so excited. You're like, oh shit, yeah, that's exactly it. Leap forward again. You work like this. It feels like your mind, your energy works like this. There's this, and I wonder if this is resonating. I also would love to see what you're getting out of this reading. I would love to see what energies you're picking up on. It's just what I'm picking up for you. I almost feel like this is a bit of a diagram for your mind or something like that. I'm gonna just hold this up here as well so you can read over it maybe. I'm gonna leave this up for you if you want to take a screenshot or anything like that. But that's what I'm getting for you. Again, as I said, for this specific reading, I didn't want to give too much of my own input. I obviously gave you a little bit of my own input. I think parts of me that still need to be invented, parts of me that it's time to reinvent could be good journaling prompts for you. And also balancing practical and curious seems to be important as well. Learn to balance your different learning needs and skills. I mean, you can read over this yourself. Progress forwards through baby steps going backwards. Yeah, I'm going to leave this here. I hope this resonated. I hope you enjoyed this reading. I know it was a bit different, but I love doing different types of things. I just love kind of like trying things out and being a little bit, I don't know, like I just get very curious in how tarot can interact with us and how we can interact with tarot. And there's so many different ways that I believe we can interact with it. And so I just really want to push the boundaries of how we interact with tarot, how readers interact with their viewers, and I'm just really enjoying doing things like that. So if you want to see more stuff like this, I'd really love to hear from you. Again, I always love seeing feedback because I feel like it enriches my own ability to read tarot when I see other people's perceptions and other people's feedback from what they saw from the cards, drawings, whatever it is, what notes they took. So please share. I'd love to see it. If you like this reading, do like, subscribe, and comment. Check out my Patreon. You know, it's in the description box below. Check out my Instagram. It's at Astro Wheel of Fortune. You know, check out my links if you feel like you connect with my work. But I'm gonna leave it here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'm going to move forward. So, okay, group 2. Let's get into your reading. So, interesting so far. I thought group 1 was very, very interesting, and I'm very excited to see what your cards have to say. We're going to be doing, you know, keywords, channeled little messages. Group 1 got a couple of journaling prompts as well, so I'm really excited to see what comes up. So let's get started. Whatever it is that you want to ask about, or if you're just open for general messages, feel free to connect to that as well, but let me pull some cards for you now. Okay, I feel like this is upright. I'll be kind of throwing out keywords and things like that as I'm doing this, but feel free to like meditate over the cards yourself. I'm also pulling from my astrology decks. you know the thing that I'm hearing? I'm hearing like emotional damage. That's what I keep hearing. Let me write that down because that's. I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing. It's the sound on TikTok, and it's the thing that I'm hearing here. Emotional damage. Emotional damage. Okay, emotional damage. But it feels very, there's certain emotional damage that you're probably working through. So let me think about this more, and you try and meditate over these cards yourself as well to see what you're feeling. You know what I'm getting? A lot of what you think is your mind is your emotion, and a lot of what you think is your emotion is your mind. For some reason, that's coming through. So, a lot of what you think is your mind is your emotions, and a lot of what you think is your emotion is your mind. A lot of what you think is your mind is your emotions, and a lot of what you think is your emotions is your mind. I almost feel like for you, actually, a good journaling prompt would be to sit down and say what comes from my mind. Sorry, I feel like my writing is getting messier and messier. And what comes from my emotions. And it's almost like writing that down and, like, you know, having bullet points of like, what do I think? And then asking why you think that. Why? This could be like a good journaling prompt for you. And trying to answer the why is more important than what you think comes from your mind and what you think comes from your emotions, because the why is where you're going to find the answers. You're not asking the why enough. Okay. Not asking why enough. And not in this kind of way, like why about the world or life. It's like when you think something about yourself, you don't ask yourself, I don't mean that you never ask yourself, but currently there could be some things that you're thinking about yourself that you think is your feelings about yourself. And something you're thinking about yourself, you think is what you're feeling about yourself, but you're thinking it's the thoughts, and the thoughts are coming from somewhere else, somewhere probably with a lot of emotional damage. And you're not asking yourself, why am I thinking that thought? Why is that thought pattern swirling in my head? It's like a thought pattern has swirled in your head. This is like, let's say this dot is like your head. Or like your mind or whatever. It swirled so much that it's like it's almost in your, the thought is taking control and it needs to be reduced. It feels like it needs to be shrunk again. There are certain thoughts that need to be shrunk to be smaller. It's like, this is the thought started out as a dot and it spun out, and it's time to start shrinking it again. There are thoughts there. Well, oh, could be another journaling prompt. What thoughts about myself, is it time to shrink? Shrinking is coming in as like a big thing. I'm going to write it down as like a keyword. And I mean shrinking, not shrinking yourself, but shrinking certain beliefs or certain things that maybe you're trying to eliminate self-limiting beliefs, when in fact you should be shrinking them, not trying to cancel them out completely or destroy them, to exterminate them, you know? Maybe you're dealing with certain things from a point of view like I need to exterminate, but in reality you just need to shrinking is so much easier than exterminating. Okay, I'm gonna write that down as well. Okay, I'll write down this. Shrinking is easier than exterminating. Oh, it's like, okay. Shrinking is easier than exterminating. I'm really curious to see what like messages you're going to get out of this. But let me think, because I feel like with the Page of Cups, this feels like an inner child situation. And it feels like this energy is very much like something happened around your inner child, something destructive. Again, like emotional damage. That's where I kind of got it from. And then the Magician makes me think of like Mercury energy and thinking, but it's not being directed in the right kind of way. The Magician being in reverse makes me think of like thinking and expanding, because the Magician to me is very expansive energy, but expanding in a way that isn't serving you, expanding in a way that is like to the detriment of you. And so there's expansion of certain thoughts that are happening, like I was kind of feeling here, that need to be in fact shrunk. There's a need to shrink certain beliefs, certain thinking patterns, but you are aware that you want to get rid of these thinking patterns, but instead of shrinking them, what you're trying to, or like redirecting or restructuring the flow of things, you're trying to just completely cancel that shit out. But it's not gonna work that way, like for you or for anyone, I guess. It's like it's easier to just shrink it, to push it all inwards until it's very small, and when it's very small, it'll just disappear. There's no need to destroy, there's a need to encourage the thought to disappear. Oh, that's okay. Encourage. You know what? The way that I'm seeing you is almost like a master of some kind, trying to like lure this thought, but it's not like in a sinister way. You're luring this thought into peace. Encourage the thought to disappear. And it's kind of like what, you know, when you train an animal, or you train, or you trying to gain trust of a child, or like a pet, or someone innocent, because the Page of Cups is making me think of all this like innocence. And you have like, they can sense if you have good intentions, and if you have good intentions towards the person, the child, the pet, they will sense it. But even if they're sensing the good intentions, they still need like this kind of energy of reassurance. And there's this feeling with some of these thoughts, a good way to approach it is almost like a scared little animal, or a scared wounded animal, and showing it like, hey, I'm not here to destroy you, I'm not here to like hurt you, but I am here to make your life easier. And the way that I'm going to make your life easier is I'm going to shrink you, and I'm going to make you littler, and I'm going to make you smaller, and I'm going to put you in my hands, and then, you know, at a certain point you just make the thought kind of like disappear or become very, very tiny. And but it doesn't hurt the thought. Like, I don't know if for some reason it's coming through as that kind of metaphor. It's like where a thought gets to disappear painlessly rather than being destroyed and tackled in a very, like, maybe almost more violent way or something like that. Encourage, And it's almost like when the thought is smaller, oh, maybe it's not that the thought needs to disappear, I suppose. It's just right now the thought is like this, right? And the thought is like, it's like a hurricane, and there's like a lot of things swirling around this thought. Like that's the kind of energy I'm getting, and it's quick, and there's so much energy, and it's just chaotic. This is the thought. And you encourage the thought to come down to a smaller level, and you're like, okay, you're a little bit chaotic still, but it's okay. Like we're getting you down to a smaller, we're shrinking you a little bit. We're shrinking you a little bit. And then, you know, the emotions around the thought are relaxing then as well. And then when it's shrunken, you kind of go, hey, you've actually shrunk quite a bit. Do you think you're ready? Because you're always in this kind of space. Do you want to go through this gate? Do you want to go into a redirection? You know, almost want to write down welcome here. Welcome. It's like, welcome to being redirected to a better thought. And it transforms then. It's not that the thought is disappearing. It just transforms into a new kind of thought. A thought that is like happy and relaxed. On cloud 9. That's what it feels like. It's like a need to shrink the thought so it's easier to redirect it, because the Two of Wands to me, it could talk of many things, but it feels like redirection of something. In this case, a redirection of, you know, the thought is used to something, but it's time to redirect it to be, and get it used to a new way of being. With the mutable energy, it's like it's time to redirect. It's time, welcoming change. Let's have the welcome sign here. Teaching the thought how to welcome. Teach your thoughts. Okay, Okay, teach your thoughts. Teach your thoughts how to welcome redirection and change. So maybe right now you are someone who's concerned with like self-limiting beliefs and thoughts that I feel like this is an important part of your reading, this sentence right here. Teach your thoughts how to welcome redirection and change. Right now you might be concerned with eliminating certain thoughts, and you know, this is a self-limiting belief, this is a thought that bothers me, this is a thought that doesn't bring me any good. And your guides are kind of coming through here, I think, or like whatever you're being shown in this spread. But I feel like your guides, energies, whatever you want to call them, are coming through to show you is that it's much easier to tackle these thoughts if you treat them like scared little animals who need help passing through a gate or or going somewhere. It's like, teach the thought that it can trust you to redirect it safely to a better place. So let's say your thought is, I'm unlovable. You know, in whatever version of that, you know, I'm unlovable, I'm not cool enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm whatever. Oh, I literally can't write. I'm unlovable. Let's say that's the core thought that you're trying to tackle. I'm unlovable. Saying it to it like, no, you need to say, I'm lovable, might feel very violent to this thought almost. It might feel very tower-like, very intense. And it's like a reminder of the intensity of other things that happened maybe in childhood. But with the I'm unlovable energy and this thought, what you can start doing is shrinking. And so you can say to the thought like, hey, it's okay that you think you're unlovable. How about thinking that you're neutral? I'm neutral. I'm in a place of neutral. It's easier to get to a point of neutrality than it is to jump straight to, oh, that's your message. Okay, where will I even write this for you, group 2? Some of you are trying to jump to positivity. So negativity, neutrality. I can't do it. Sorry, I'm too excited. Neutrality, and then positivity. I'll just Okay, positivity. Okay, so we've got negativity, neutrality, positivity. And you're trying to make the jump here, but it's very hard to do that. You need to make the jump here first, to neutrality, to a neutral place. And so the thought, when it's so big and chaotic, it's easier to just shrink it. And then once it's shrunk, we've got the gate here that we were talking about here to positivity, to positive thinking. So it's like you're going from negative to neutral. When it's neutral, it feels safe. And that thought, when it feels safe, it can be redirected to positive. Encourage the thought to redirect, because I have disappear here, but I'm going to say redirect. Teach your thoughts how to welcome redirection and change, and your emotions will follow suit. From negative to neutral, not from negative to positive. If this is to do with a situation, maybe you need to bring the situation to neutral rather than to positive. So maybe if you're asking about something specific, there's a need to achieve a sense of neutrality. I would really love to see what you got out of this reading. So here's your notes, or the notes that I wrote. Let me just, if you want to take a screenshot or anything, or you want to pause and read. And then the other side, I know it's very chaotic and I feel like my writing is not very nice, but it's rough and we're just trying to get messages. We're not trying to make it look pretty. So yeah, that's what I have for you, group number 2. I think this is a very fascinating reading. And I'd really love to hear your take on this spread. I would really love to hear your take on this energy and the notes, or did you take any notes, or did you channel something? You let me know. I'm going to leave it here. I really enjoyed doing this reading. I hope you had a good time too. If you liked it, do like, subscribe and comment. But also, if you want to check out my Patreon for more readings by me, more content by me, feel free to do so. Also check out my Instagram page if you feel like it. It's just at Astro Wheel of Fortune on Instagram. And I'm going to leave you here. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'm going to move on. Okay. Okay, we're moving on to group 3. That's the Black Tourmaline. So the other 2 groups were very interesting. The notes were very interesting. So I'm excited to see what we derive from your messages. Group 3, Black Tourmaline. So let's get into it. I'm going to be pulling the tarot cards first. So you can be asking about a specific topic, or this can be just, you know, if you're open to general messages, general energies. Let's get into it. Funny, that was the first card in group 1 as well. I wonder if some of you were attracted to group 1. A lot of pentacles. And I'm also pulling from the astrology decks. They really help me. I find astrology decks can be so helpful to me specifically, and especially if you're someone who is into astrology, I often find they can be such good guides, especially if you know your chart, if you know your transits. I think it can be like a really good, just a really good guide. Wow. Group 3. You are on a roll in some sort of way. I feel like your guides, this is more like, I feel like the other 2 groups were a little bit more problem solving. For you, what I'm getting more so, and again, I want you to challenge or channel your own messages as well. It's not just about what I think here. But for you, it definitely feels more of a reassurance and more of you're doing, like, you're in a roll. You're doing really well. Like, there's a little bit of, like, applause or something like applause. Okay, I'm going to write down applause, because applause, applause. It's like applause from your spirit team. They're really proud of you in some way. There's pride. Pride, I guess, yeah. Okay. Applause, pride. I'm getting that there's a period in your life that's coming in to, like, there's a period of your life that is ending and maybe you're almost over it, like it's almost ended already. You're going into a period of play. Play. Okay, play. You're going into a period of play. Because security, maybe you've been chasing security. So you've been chasing security and stability, I would say. But you have it now. You are still kind of like, I think you're still kind of like, do I have it? Do I definitely? You can feel it. You can feel that you have a certain level of stability and security. You can feel like you have a certain level of stability and security. But it's like, are you sure is what I'm hearing. I feel like you ask your guides this, are you sure? Are you sure I have this? It's like I can feel like I have it, and I want to, like, Ace of Pentacles also is coming through, like, almost like, I'm getting the Ace of Pentacles like this, like the card, the Ace of Pentacles, a lot of pentacle energy. There's a lot of stability that's already around you, a lot of abundance that already around you, and so your guides are saying it's safe to start playing. It's safe to embody this energy of play, the fifth house energy. You're destined to play. You're destined to feel secure and safe and stable enough to play. A cycle is ending. 8th house also talks about fears, and I feel like a lot of the fears that you had around stability and security you're kind of integrating them, because the 8th house is not just like fears that we need to like really integrating. Okay, I'm just gonna write it down. Sorry, my mind sometimes it's like it jumps from one thing to another, so please bear with me. Integrated fears. Bring play. The word play is very important, clearly. Integrated fears bring play, because the 8th house is not just about fears that are like, ooh, they're scary and they're haunting me, and like the 8th house talks about fears that you can integrate, that you can use for shadow work, that you can alchemize. There's a lot of alchemy that happens in the 8th house. So alchemy, you've alchemized something. You alchemize a lot of your fears into power, into security, into stability. Alchemy equals alchemizing fears to use them as powerful fuel. Alchemizing fears to use them as powerful fuel. And it's not that you're being driven by fears. That's not what's happening. It's not that you're taking the fear itself and you're using it as fuel. It's like, I'm doing things because I'm scared of them, or I'm scared of, I'm doing things so that I'm running away from my fear or whatever. It's that you're taking the fear and you're going, hey, fear, like you're causing me a lot of trouble and you're making me uncomfortable or whatever. And you're kind of looking at this fear from a point of view of like almost curiosity, I think. And you're able to take this fear into, oh, like, this is not actually a fear. This is actually like this really cool thing about me. This is actually a really cool, like, unique, I just feel like gold is the word that's coming to me. It's like, this fear is actually a gold mine for me in some kind of way. Like, it feels like that's the way that you are able to view it when you really expand it, when you really go to the root of the situation. You realize that this fear is actually gold, and then you use that gold as fuel. It turns into fuel. It's not that you take fear directly to fuel. First, you alchemize it into something that is gold, something that is useful. It's kind of like, what's something that I can put as a metaphor? It's like, what things that you can use. It reminds me of like some things that are poisonous, like they can be poison, but it's like if you add another chemical to them or you do something else with them, they actually end up being something useful, or could even be like healing or something like that. There's that kind of feeling. Like, so okay, poison, you add like another variable, so it's like poison plus another variable equals poison, another variable equals gold. I keep getting gold, so gold, or some sort of like potion almost, and then you use that gold for fuel and healing and advancing. There's something very interesting about how you are like an alchemist. But maybe it's not even something that you are realizing about yourself yet. There's a very direct, like, it feels like a very direct ending to a period of struggle, or a mindset where just because you have fears, you think that these fears are like basically your burdens. You're able to see, it's almost like something that I'm getting is that soon in your life, you're going to see fears as like, oh, more fuel. Like, there's that kind of feeling. It's like whenever you're scared of something in the future, you're gonna be like, oh, I'm scared of it. Let me figure out why I'm scared of it. Let me, it's shadow work. That's what a lot of shadow work is, figuring out the things that you're scared of and why you're scared of them. And, not with the purpose of saying, oh, I want to eliminate these fears completely, but looking at your fears and going like, there's something legitimately very interesting about me within this fear. And when it's like a diamond in the rough. And maybe the roughness has been happening for a while. And you've been able to forge yourself. Forge yourself. Forge yourself. You are so good at, there's almost like, there's something, I keep getting like the imagery of like chemistry and chemicals working together. You're like a spiritual chemist or something. Like, there's almost like, but obviously not in that way. It's just like, it's almost like you alter your own body chemistry by doing this. Altering body chemistry. And it's something you might not even realize you're doing. It's just very, very fascinating. It's almost like by looking into your fears, by looking into your self-limiting beliefs, by looking at things that are deeply, deeply uncomfortable to you, and finding these little bits of gold, these little bits of diamonds, you're able to alter your body chemistry and alter your whole being into something very new and fulfilling. Ace of Cups is like this very abundant love. And it's not just abundant love for a person, or like for life in general. Abundant love for life, abundant love for yourself. You're about to love yourself a lot. And I wonder if you're probably feeling that already. There's just like a deep appreciation and love for yourself that you have forged. And that's why I keep getting like the applause. I feel like your guides, more so than giving you advice on something, they're just kind of pointing out what you've already done. But maybe they're just trying to show me here, like almost like almost like a diagram. It's like, you know, you've done this, but maybe you're not entirely like, it's like you need to see it in pictures or something like that. I think you could even benefit if you ever journal. Your guides are encouraging you to journal in diagrams. Draw diagrams for yourself when you're journaling. Okay. Draw diagrams for yourself when journaling. My writing is so messy, but I'm not trying to be neat about this. I'm just trying to record the things that are standing out to me. And so this kind of like altering your body chemistry is allowing you to feel more safe. And therefore gives you permission almost. It's like it's easier to give yourself permission to play these days. It's going to start getting easier and easier to give yourself permission to play the more you go on with this, by the way. The more you look into your fears, the easier it will be to give yourself permission to play. To give yourself permission. Because something about this card, the Six of Pentacles, usually doesn't have that meaning at all. But something about this card, I'm seeing this as you and maybe your higher self. And these are also versions of you. And it's almost like you're giving yourself permission to do something. You're giving yourself permission to enjoy yourself, enjoy life, not always have to worry about money, not always have to worry about where you're moving on in your career, things like that. I also feel like it's your guide, not that you need permission from your guides, not that you need, your guides to give you the go ahead to play or anything like that, because I feel like you always have that permission from them. But they're kind of saying like, you have permission from your spirit team if you want permission, but it's not that we should even be giving you permission, but you have the permission to enjoy yourself, to play, to have fun in many different ways. Because the Two of Pentacles lets me know there's so many ways that you can be playful. It's like play is not just being playful. For you can be so many different things. Maybe you need to do, maybe this is a good journaling prompt. Where do I want to inject playfulness? Because I am getting the idea of injecting playfulness. There are places in your life, energies in your life that you're already doing where I think you have an attraction to inject playfulness into those spots in your life. And your guides are saying you just have to put that intention in. And so I wonder if you could journal about this. Where do I want to inject playfulness in my life? What areas? Maybe, well, house 5, the 5th house, is the house of playfulness, really. It's the house of passion and flirtation and theatrics and drama and fun and courtship. Courtship is coming through. So maybe some of you are craving, especially if you're like single, but also if you're in a relationship, maybe you want to court your partner in a more playful way. Though, like maybe there's a resurgence of that energy. Or if you're single, maybe you haven't been very playful in your dating life and you're ready to reinstate that into your life. Yeah, that's what I think I have for you, group number 3. So here's the notes if you want to pause the video or if you want to screenshot or if you just... I don't know if you want these notes or not, but we have these notes here. I would love to hear what you thought of this reading, but I'm getting a very strong feeling that you're in a much more stable position than you realize, and you're moving into a very playful time in your life. I would love to know what you're channeling from these cards as well. I also feel like generosity, because fifth house is also about generosity, and we've got this energy of generosity with the Queen of Pentacles as well. She's a very generous queen. She's giving. She wants to give, but not in an over-giving kind of way. She just wants to give as long as she can give. So there's a generosity, and also the 8th house talks about shared resources. Ooh, so maybe something about play and generosity and shared resources is correlating here. So let me write it down. Okay, play equals sharing equals generous or generosity. Play equals sharing equals generosity. And I keep hearing equals no one gets left behind. True definition of play for you is that no one gets left behind. No one gets left behind. You know what? I agree with that. True definition of play and joy and fun is that no one gets left behind, that everyone's inclusion. Inclusion is important to you. So in order to feel stable and safe, you need to feel like you're included in whatever space you're a part of, and you need to feel like you're inclusive of other people. Because you're respecting people's pride and dignity. There's a lot of very interesting messages that came through. I'm just going to put up this side again because I know I wrote more stuff. But yeah, that's play equals sharing equals generosity equals no one gets left behind. Therefore, it's inclusion. And turning gold, or turning fears into gold into fuel. But you're kind of there already. You're working through it. I feel like you're it's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like you're not quite in that energy full force yet, but you're almost there. Like you're doing really well. You're moving towards your destiny, towards your purpose. I feel like a lot of people in this group have done a lot of self-work and a lot of shadow work. And one thing that again is that your guides are very proud of you. There's a lot of pride coming from your spirit team or energetic team, whatever it is you want, your higher self, whatever it is you want to call these things. A lot of this messaging is a pat on the back and an encouragement to keep going is what I'm feeling. It's like you're asking, but you keep asking the question, are you sure? Are you sure? It's almost like this reading, even after this reading, you might go, oh, maybe I need another confirmation. I should watch another reading, or I should, guides give me another sign. It's like your guides are like, this is your sign that you're on the right track. I feel like take this reading for a lot of you, and I feel like maybe some of you will channel that yourselves. This reading, this specific group, it's your sign that you're on the right track. You're going in the right direction. Whatever you're working on right now, whatever projects you're doing, whatever, especially creative projects, whatever you're working on, you're on the right track. Please believe that, and please really feel that in yourself. This is, and especially if you channeled that in yourself when you were looking at this and while you were watching me do these notes and stuff like that. Yeah, that's what I have for you, group number 3. I hope you enjoyed this reading. I really enjoyed doing these. I think I'm definitely going to want to do more of these. I thank you for hanging out with me. If you like my readings, you can check out my Patreon as well. It's in the description box below if you want to check out more content by me. Also, if you are interested in checking out my Instagram, it's at Astro Wheel of Fortune on Instagram. And if you like this video, do like, subscribe, and comment, especially with your feedback. I would really love to hear your feedback on this specific reading. And yeah, I'm going to leave it here. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!